Right, now this will tell us. And that's pretty conclusive. Still going. Close. I think he got it down.
How strong is he? Welcome back to the Pick and Go podcast, your one-stop shop for all things rugby union. And, well, it used to be focused on Super Rugby. That's all over. As we know, the Hurricanes are champions for 2026 in Super Rugby Pacific. Welcome back in. Two guests from up north. First of all, we head to, what side of the bridge are we talking when we go to Jeff Wilson?
Oh, mate, there's only one side of the bridge. It's the north side.
Yes.
We're the north side of the bridge. What are you on about? I mean, the only reason I go over there is go to the airport. Or go into headquarters at Sky. Otherwise, I don't even bother. Super Rugby's a long time ago. What in the world are we still mentioning that for? It's All Blacks now. That's it. An NPC. All Blacks and NPC. Nothing else. Super Rugby Opiki, however, we should mention that as well. But we are not talking about the Hurricanes win. Done, dusted, in the book. Put a line through it.
Let's head to another household. On that side of the bridge. And, of course, Ben Searle's Chiefs made it to the final of Super Rugby 26, but unfortunately just fell short against a mighty Hurricanes display. Searle, welcome back in.
Well, as we've seen in a lot of big sporting competitions around the world, just making it that far is a heck of an achievement. So well done to the lads for making the final. I do have to pay a few ticks too. I have to shout out Rosmini, who bet Westlake on the weekend.
Ooh.
Some controversial calls, but I was talking it up big time, and I've had a few people say that I need to acknowledge that on this podcast. So, yeah, well done to Rosmini. It hurts to say that. 21-0 up. Westlake should have closed the game out, but they lost 31-21. We will beat them in the final, which is before the Battle of the Bridge at North Harbour Stadium. That is going to be a great day for North Harbour Rugby. 2 from 2. Can feel it already.
Jeff, have you got skin in the game when it comes to college footy up that way?
Yes, I do. And my son came off the bench, played the last 12 minutes of the contest, and he spent all of it defending, to be fair. Rosmini were really good in the second half. Were great. But look, like I say, there was no trophy up for grabs in that game. So it's now 1-1 for the season. It was a great final last year. It's generally a great final between these teams. So, for me, I'm looking forward to these two teams. They will be the two teams in the final of the North Harbour competition. So, game on.
Right, last week I was talking with Piti Weepu, and I asked him this question. I thought I'd ask you guys, with a week of the Nations Championship already under our belt, and just what are your thoughts on, first of all, how the first week of the Nations Championship went, and whether you think it will be a success. We'll stay with you for this one, Jeff.
Yeah, look, I'm really excited about it. I think it's a great concept. Great rivalries. The fact that, every week you're getting a different contest. You're not sort of rolling into a meaningless 2-test series. I never agreed with that anyway. So I think it's certainly garnered a lot of interest. Only one issue. I don't know where some of these teams are playing, because Fiji aren't playing a game at home. They're playing all of their games in the Northern Hemisphere, right? So England have played, and then they're going back up to go and play in Liverpool, and then they're going away for the next game. And I think Japan's the same. They're in Australia this week, playing Ireland. I'm not sure that's a recipe for success. I think part of this, if you're trying to genuinely grow the game, you should be trying to get these games played at their home venues, in their home countries. I know there's an element of trying to generate revenue and get bigger gates. Clearly, that's what Fiji are trying to do. But, maybe this is one of those situations where broadcast revenue across the 12 needs to be shared, so that the intent is you're playing in your home stadiums in front of your home fans. That's the one thing. But everything else I love. The concept, the fact they've got a 4-try bonus point system in place for this one, so encourages teams to play, because it'll probably be the difference between you making where you end up on the table quite possibly could be your bonus points.
Surly, you are thinking along the same lines as Goldie there. Overall, a good concept with maybe a tweak or two.
Yeah, I loved being able to sink my teeth into 14, 15 games across the Nations Cup as well, watching the highlights from those. Shout out to USA, who have now learnt where the dead ball line is on rolling mauls. That was one of the great fumbles. But much to Jeff's point, like, I agree with the Fiji thing. How good would it be if they were playing at home? Like, the scenes and the growth of the game there would be crazy. We have Tonga playing Zimbabwe in the States, things like that. Like, there needs to be a split of the revenue pool so that we can grow the game in some of these nations that have so much potential there. And a year out from a World Cup, I'm sure they would love to be playing in front of their home fans. So, yeah, that's the only little thing, but I do love just being able to watch teams like Zimbabwe and that lace up and play footy and see that they can actually play to a decent standard as well. Like, they didn't fold against that Tonga team. It's worrying for Tonga, but yeah, it's great to see some of these nations getting stronger and getting opportunities to play first-class, test-level worthy games.
And the fact that the majority of these teams are going to be involved in a Rugby World Cup next year, I think virtually all of them. So you're getting eyes on them now because the World Cup's been expanded. We are playing Hong Kong, China. We are playing Hong Kong in the Rugby World Cup. So we're playing Chile, aren't we, in our pool. So now you can at least put eyes on them and go, okay, that's exactly who we're playing. And to me, this is all of a sudden put some relevancy in a global game, like a global calendar, whether it be just 3 weeks and 3 weeks into the end of the year, it has come together.
What is the reasoning behind the likes of Fiji playing a home game against Wales at Cardiff? Is it all about the money?
Yeah.
So Fiji, obviously, the stadium's a whole heap bigger in Wales than the stadium they have in Suva. Plus, I'm guessing you could sell the tickets at a much more of a
premium
price, a premium.
Yeah.
And it's cheaper to run a game day in Wales too, I would imagine, than compared to Fiji,
because they've already got
right?
the infrastructure there in terms of camera crews and Okay.
Fiji's not too bad in that regard, but purely just size.
Right.
It's just stadium size. They didn't play at Millennium. They played, I think, Cardiff City, I think is where they played. It wasn't a huge crowd, but they still would have done better out of it. But particularly what we're known as Super Rugby, right? One of their competitive advantages is playing in Fiji, the Drua, because the conditions are so challenging. You take that away from the teams having to visit there. And, I think for me, if you want them to be as competitive as you possibly can, it shouldn't be about how much money they make from the game. It should be about them being and playing in their home conditions, more familiar in front of their fans, making it more difficult for the team going to visit there,
I do wonder how many punters got caught out too. Like, I saw Fiji, the home side against Wales, and thought, how good, I'm getting on Fiji to win this game. I didn't do the research and realise that it was played in Wales. I wonder if there were many punters that threw Fiji in their multi and thinking, how good, they're going to win at home.
Yep. I think, I found that game really hard to pick as a result of that. It sort of swung the balance in that contest, absolutely.
Right. Fiji and Wales as a home. I'm guessing they get a bigger cut of the gate takings because they were the nominated home team.
They get the whole lot.
Oh, do you get everything?
I'd say you get your whole lot. Absolutely.
Is that how international rugby works? Like, if you're the home team, you take all the gate takings.
There's a reason we're only playing 4 test matches at home this year. Like, it's just, that's how it works. This is what New Zealand rugby has always, found difficult, is that the yield they get off a test match in New Zealand versus playing England at Twickenham at the end of the year in front of 80,000 people, and you're talking the cheapest tickets, like 170 quid. New Zealand rugby doesn't see a dime of that, not a dollar, because those are games that are scheduled by World Rugby. Now, anything that's played outside of the international windows, for example, those games we've played in Chicago and the like, that becomes a revenue share between the two teams have agreed on an extra test match. So it's all a negotiation. The ones like this is a World Rugby competition, and if you're at home, this is my understanding. I haven't heard anything to the difference of this. This is what I believe, is that you continue to get your home gate takings from your home test matches in these windows. So that's why Fiji, take it off. I'm not sure about the Japan one. I'm not sure about that, why they've gone into Australia. Don't know whether or not Ireland have had something to do with that. I'm not sure, but I mean, overall, for me, that's what some of the challenges are for these Pacific Island nations when you're seeing an opportunity to shore up your bank balance, but what they're trying to do is get a competition that's as competitive as possible, right?
I guess in that respect, it certainly suits Ireland. They don't have to travel at all for from the Australian test to the one coming out. It's
in Newcastle too. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense either way. That's not a big rugby city either.
Mate, honestly, we had a moment where Beaver and I were sitting there going, "Why are they going all? Oh no, that not that Newcastle. They're going to the Newcastle in Australia." I thought initially I might thinking they were going back to Europe, to young London, and I was like, what's going on, you know? But no, clearly Southern Hemisphere. But yeah, a huge advantage to Ireland, right? Massive advantage.
Yeah. Right. There are a whole heap of one-sided games coming up this weekend. We'll get to that a wee bit later, but let's look back first. And Dave Rennie's first test in charge of the All Blacks. Overall, how do you think he went?
You go first, Shirley.
I loved this game. And I love the attacking nature of the game. I thought the French were unreal. And I get that there are a lot of talk around defensive deficiencies. And yes, I agree. There were some for sure. 6 training sessions. You have to keep that in mind. The ruck speed through the roof. I think we were 81%. They were 77% in terms of rucks quicker than 3 seconds, which is crazy. When you look at the South Africa-England game, it was 67%, so a lot slower. When teams have the ability to shift the ball, like both the All Blacks and France were doing, short interchange passing, attacking width, and then attacking short sides as well, we saw some exciting shapes there. The French running a bit of a 4-pod system with wingers and fullbacks sweeping around the back. The All Blacks looked like they ran some nice shapes too. We saw us attacking from midfield scrums inside our own 22 when normally we just see us exit from there, but the picture shows that you can attack and execute it well, and that's exactly what we did. So I like that we chanced our arm a little bit. Yes, there was rust. There were decisions there where we tapped certain penalties and things like that where maybe we got a little bit too excited, but in terms of a first test, I really enjoyed it, and I think the signs are there that we're going to be a really good team. Discipline, still a bit of a worry. But my biggest thing is, from 6 training sessions, to look that sharp on attack, I was incredibly pleased, and I think key players really stood up. Thought Sam Darry was exceptional. There was a handful of guys you could rattle off, but I left this one being excited about what the next 18 months can bring for All Black rugby. Yes, improvements needed, but first test, and when I think back to our first test last year, I think I feel better as to where we are right now than I did this time last year.
Goldie, offensively, Surly, very, very happy. Defensively, there's a wee bit of work to be done. But more importantly for you, box kicks.
And very few of them. And hallelujah.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 for intent. Pure and simple from both teams. And what I saw very immediately at the game, I watched France come out, and I saw, generally France have carried 4, 5, 6 really big men. They didn't have any of the giants. They had 1 or 2, but the rest were incredibly athletic. And what both teams did really well across the course of the whole day is their decision-making executions when they got 4-on-3s. Now, 4-on-3s, you think, oh, that's a minor advantage, but the work both teams did down short sides or when they got momentum was outstanding. And then the finishing was world-class. So you combine that together with the ruck speed you're talking about, and it's very difficult to defend. Conditions were so good. Under a roof, it's still, the ball's dry, it's hard, it's fast, everything you would like. And you had 2 teams with great skill sets and great, I've always said it, great attack will beat great defence, because great attack has the advantage of knowing where they're going next and can manipulate the defence. You cannot cover everything defensively. And so, because how many times in the game did you think anyone went for a 50-22 or tried to, it just didn't happen. Like there was none of that in play. Everyone was thinking, well, let's see if we can keep the ball in hand and just keep stretching the defence. So 10 out of 10 for intent. In terms of execution on both sides of the ball, probably 5 out of 10. I think the defensively there was some indecision like you say, the stress that the opposition were putting on the All Blacks, it made them vulnerable from time to time. But overall, you've got to like what you saw. Let's be honest. I saw a whole lot of guys who have watched the Hurricanes play rugby and Super Rugby and go, let's do that. And the shapes were very similar. They were very, very similar. You just added more talent into those and creating those opportunities. But we saw two 9-10 combinations have got big futures, got plenty of talent. And then we added Damian McKenzie into the mix, who I thought was outstanding, by the way. Absolutely critical to have that sort of experience when you're down to 14 men, you've just been punched in the nose, and we're 7-0 down, and we end up getting it back to 7-5, I think, over that 10-minute period. So, look, some great signs. I just hope that that those freedoms remain, but a little bit more game sense. Look, I would say this: had Damian McKenzie not thrown that intercept 30 metres out with about 7 minutes to go, and we'd won by 9, I think it was probably a fairer reflection of we were just that little bit better. But because it got back to 2, I think on the scoreboard it looked as though we weren't the better team. I think we were the better team overall, and sort of 9 to 10 points I think would have been fair on the night.
Shirley, you mentioned Sam Darry, who had a massive game. I thought Ruben Love, outside of the yellow card, looked very, very comfortable in that number 10 jersey. I guess it helps when you've got your teammates inside and outside. But if you look back on that game, outside of Darry, who else did you think sort of put their hand up and said, yeah, I belong in this arena?
Yeah, on Ruben Love, well done to him for bouncing back from that early yellow card, because an inexperienced international player starting in the 10 jersey for the first time, it could rattle you, man. But it was great to hear Artie post-game saying, Ruben Love was getting us together and giving us very clear messages and all that type of stuff. Like, he's a leader that could well wear that 10 jersey for a long time. I loved his combination with Damian McKenzie too, the layering that it gives our attack. Damian hits the ball beautifully at depth, and when he gets mismatches with forwards, when you got forwards in the front line with Ruben Love out the back with his step and his flair, and then feeding a deep Damian McKenzie, it asks so many questions for opposition teams. So I love that combination. Obviously, Cam Roigard always puts his hand up. He was insane yet again. I liked Will Jordan on the wing. I think the work of Geordie Barrett, a lot of it underrated too, or undernoticed. That clean out for the Cam Roigard try first up, just to hold on to Jelly Bear's leg for a little bit longer there to create some space for his 9 to go through. Like, that's stuff that doesn't get seen by a lot of rugby fans, but he literally created 7 points for us, and he does so much tough work. Artie, of course, into everything. I think it's more so there were a number, maybe 10 or so guys that continued their Super Rugby form or were pretty close to that, which is the most pleasing thing. Inexperienced lock duo, I thought both did really well. So it ticked a lot of boxes for me.
Goldie, we did mention the kicking, and you were very, very, I think you were happy with the amount of, first of all, the amount of kicks in general in play, but the quality of them as well.
Look, there was only probably 2. There was probably 2 across the course of the game where they didn't have a lot of purpose and sort of allowed the French to be able to get back into our half with a relative ease and get some into their attacking threats pretty quickly, their systems and structures, and created some opportunities and scored some points as a result of that. Look, we allowed 12, I think the number was 12 entries into our 22. You wouldn't want to be doing too many more of those. Against good teams, you're going to probably, concede. Most teams are thinking you're at least wanting to run at 50% in terms of point scoring opportunities out of that. And if those 2 or 3 of those are tries, you're then probably looking conceding 30 points. So we did some really good work, but by the same token, defensively, we just really did struggle. And you mentioned the ruck speed. We really did struggle to slow down their possession or create genuine turnover opportunities consistently. So I think you have to look at that and go, okay, well, what could we have done a little bit differently? We had some great relieving kicks, relieving pressure. We had 11 entries into theirs and converted a couple of times more. So, that was the upside for us. Yeah, I just we'll be better. It's a first game. You know, you now have time to. The one thing I saw an interview from Tan Umanga, and I reminded him before the game that you do remember when we played, it was very similar to what he said was, it's amazing how quickly these players pick things up. You'll do a review of something at training, you'll talk about something, they would have thought about it overnight, they come out the next day and they executed it. And I said, look, we did similar things a long, long time ago, right? But you forget when you're talking about the All Blacks, you're talking about the elite of the elite, how quickly they can make adjustments. So now they've got the benefit of one game against a quality team together. Now they'll be able to make so many small adjustments technically about what they're going to do. And situationally in particular, where Dave Rennie goes, you know what, that wasn't the time to take a quick tap and run into a 2-on-4 and turn over possession. You know, that wasn't time, Damien, with 7 minutes to go. We're only up by 9 to throw a speculator 30 metres from our own line back on the inside when the picture had changed. So they will have to bring a better balance. It won't be this all out. We're going from everywhere, and conditions will play a part in that as well. There is no roof in Wellington, so I know that the Hurricanes played some remarkable rugby there, but there'll be some challenges that are associated with that.
Just on the defense, how much of it do you think it was different pictures in terms of attack shape that we're not used to seeing here? Like we saw 3-4-1, we saw some 2-5-1 there with like large pods there and playing middles and out back. Like, do you think it was just a different picture to what we're used to seeing in Super Rugby? Because a lot of the southern sides play a very similar 1-3-3-1 and it all looks the same.
So I'm glad the fact you managed to describe it as some structures from France. I just thought they got tired at some point and decided not to go there. Like, genuinely, they were playing on the fly so much. Like, you look at them, I think they were very difficult to predict. And then if you watch them, Luku was almost, with some of his passing, we'd run into our rock action lead or whatever, 1, 2, 3. We were so hell-bent on filling spots that we would expect normal to be there. There was no one there for the opposition. They just beat 4 defenders with one pass, So we were showing great urgency, and then we get there and go, oh, where are they? Oh, they haven't even bothered to come over here. So I think that was what the French did really well, is they played on the fly. The structures you're talking about, it was literally, if there was someone there, they'd just play, and I think that's what you love about French rugby, right? And I think that's what stressed us as well. I think you had a look at us and said, oh, we look in great shape, but we're not actually matched up very well against them. We had the whole park covered, but they weren't in a lot of those positions. So I think there's some eyes up stuff around that, because then all of a sudden it was like, well, there's no point having line speed when there's no one there. You're putting pressure on nobody.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing they talked about, is maybe we were a little bit passive with our line speed. I just think there was the randomness about the French attack, which put us under, had some second thoughts, and you start going, I'll sit on my heels a bit and be a little bit passive. That does, however, when you're passive on the inside, put pressure on your defence on the outside. And we got exposed a bit where guys are in two minds about who I'm taking, how I'm taking it, and ended up taking nobody. And that's the cardinal sin, right? You got to take somebody out. You can't just get a no man's land. And we had a lot of guys going, oh dear, who am I taking? That's something I wouldn't expect to happen too often in the All Blacks defensive system.
Surely we've spoken a lot about the All Blacks, but give credit to the French. They came to play rugby, and they certainly did. I thought Luku was one of their best on the field, and just goes to show the depth that French rugby have got. But if you look at the French side, you got to give them a bit of credit.
Oh, I loved watching Jalibert play as well. Like his ability to play eyes up. Jeff just mentioned that saying, and he crashed over like he was a middle forward at one stage there, but he just literally plays what he sees in front of him, and he chances his arm, and he's tough, and just the skill set across the whole team. We mentioned the 4v3s and things like that. They created opportunities for beautiful short interchange passing. They look like a team like just flex their depth really, right? And we've seen South Africa use 38 players or name 38 players for the first two games. But I think the French showed that while they might not have that amount of depth, they certainly have some really good players based off a great competition that they play in throughout the year too. And I think it was a good reminder too that like not all these northern sides play boring footy. In fact, times have changed, and these guys are willing to chance their arm. The French have always had flair, and I thought they executed it really well in terms of what they had available to them. They muddied the waters and played a bit of improv, and it worked really well for them.
This is the best, competition in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't. Let's not fudge around with this. I mean, theirs is the deepest. They've got the most talent. They've got international players. The standard's so very, very high, and so you can see that when these players come out, they're playing at a high standard all the time. We've known for a while that their development system's really good. Their under-20 team has consistently performs well. When you've got that sort of production line, there's no surprise that you can arrive here sort of down, maybe 9, 10 international players, 3 or 4 world class. But funnily enough, their 2 best players were the 2 positions where they had a couple of superstars not here.
Yeah.
You would have been hard-pressed for them to play better than Luku and Jalabia did on the day. You really would have been. So for me, you go, they would have been a different team with them. Yeah, they might have been slightly better, but I don't know if they would have had that much of an impact that it could have turned the result on its head,
Right. Question for you both. We'll start with you first, Shirley. What mark or grade are you giving Dave Rennie and his first test match as All Black coach?
6.5, 7, maybe a 7. I think given the short prep and what we were able to do, I was impressed. But yeah, that still leaves 3 points there for some improvement. So I think 7.
Yeah, Jeff?
Look, a lot of report cards come out now with the old effort and then the actual grade. So, I'm sort of giving them
at school. Always effort, no good grade.
So I'm giving them an A for intent, but then it's probably a B- for execution. It's the A for going out there and clearly wanting to play. And you heard the word optimism say so many times in your head. If you didn't try and play, you might have got the shepherd's crook. You might have got, if you're not out there trying to play some footy, they'll reel it in. But I think it's a B-. That standard. I think I said this on the breakdown. Takes care of Italy fine. Could be enough to beat Ireland. It wouldn't be good enough to beat South Africa.
South Africa.
Right? So we've got our gauge. There's our gauge. It's just now you just want to start edging towards what's happening this week, next week, and then obviously when you hit to South Africa.
Yeah, but I think we're all in the same sort of ballpark here. I agree with Jeff in the fact that the intent was there. That was high quality. The intent was, but the execution wasn't quite up to the same standard. So yeah, I'd give them a 7. I'd probably give them a 7.5 if they had maintained that 9-point advantage right through to the end. Right, let's have a little bo peep at a couple of the other test matches over the weekend. Let's start with the Springboks and England first. And Springboks got out to a handy lead. And then the English sort of, late in the first half, dragged it back to make it look competitive. But I don't think the Springboks were really worried at any stage at all. They seemed to have that game under control. Goldie, your thoughts on that test match?
They've got another gear, right? Like they've got a level that they can go to. They've certainly continued to unearth talent. They've got some injury concerns. They lost a couple of players before the game, and they can overcome those. Be really interesting to see. Oxenche had an amazing start, but he sounds as though he's picked up a little niggle around his knee. Where does that leave him going into, the Springboks against the All Blacks? So for me, I think they'll be satisfied because they weren't at their best, but they won 45-21, and missing some pretty talented players. But in saying that, it was a really strong group. They've got, we know they've got depth. They know how they want to play, but they did score some really nice tries, and England were left sort of clutching at air on a number of occasions, and they've got world-class finishes, man. I mean, we know how good Colby is, but Oddens is a hell of a player too. So, yeah, I think for them, it just sort of confirmed, I think, what we knew about them. They're the number one team in the world for a reason, and then even though they were a couple of guys down, they made light work of who I was maybe a little bit disappointed in England, maybe. I thought they might. I think it was probably fair that they. I watched a couple of interviews afterwards with their coaching staff, and I think he realised it was more the pressure was what they felt the squeeze out there. He could just see his team. Every time South Africa went up that gear I talked about, they just couldn't handle it. So I think that's one of the great things, like I say, about this championship is that now that you don't play them again, you go along and you play somebody else and you see what you've learnt, and they would have learnt a lot out of that, England. But I think the Springboks just looked like the Springboks, to be honest.
Can we just stick on that point, pressure? And is it a different sort of pressure when you play South Africa in South Africa? Did you play in that test match when they first came back into international rugby, Jeff?
92. No, I wasn't quite around there. But you talked to Sir John Kerwin about it, and like he said, it was like nothing he'd ever experienced before. And he'd been in a World Cup final and played in World Cups, but those World Cups were without South Africa. You have to acknowledge that. So he was part of that, and he said, look, there was no doubt there was a celebration about it, but it's never changed the whole time I've ever gone there and played there. It's like you're celebrating rugby, but at the same time, there's an edge to it, and there's an attitude about it, and there's a massive respect after the game, but there's a high level of expectation before it, and that's never changed. And you feel that pressure, that external pressure. It is something that you have to deal with. If you don't deal with it, you will come out second best. So I think in 92, when JK talked about it, I'm not sure it's changed that much. I think they take such great pride in their team and who they represent. And when they get together, there's an intensity they love to bring to the games. And it's amazing. It's, there's a sort of a window where they're Monday to Friday, they're awesome. They wake up Saturday morning and you're right in their target zone until the end of the game for every South African. And you know it. And they're looking at you, and it's like, we want to build and heap that pressure on you, But like I say, but then afterwards, regardless of the result, they're clearly respectful. They want to have a beer. If they've got a braai going in the car park, you can come and have a feed with them. So there's all of that. You do have to deal with it. It's something unique in South Africa. It really is, When we don't bring that type of intensity here in New Zealand. In and around the fixtures and games, we just sort of go to rugby. Whereas them, it is a major event on their calendar every Saturday that they're taking an international game.
Surly, Jeff mentioned the injury to Ox, but they've got a conveyor belt that just churns out tight forwards. Like they're just one after another. But it's evidenced by the bomb squad when they decide to play the bomb squad on the bench. But if you look at, they're more than just big, massive rugby players. Cheslin Colby has got some of the greatest feet in world rugby. He makes defenders look silly. Jesse Creel, you go through the whole back line. They are some very, very talented players. And we're looking at them because the All Blacks are going there later on this year. So if you look at that game against England, are you concerned about what might happen later on this year?
I think every fan should be concerned when their team plays South Africa, or at least respectful of what they possess, because, as you said, they have got 40-odd players that are test ready and could be thrown into a lineup at any time. I love how they named their team on Monday. They've got nothing to hide. This is the team they're going to roll with. You can prepare however you want, but we are backing our lads in. They have a big, skillful forward pack that still does the set piece and all that extremely well, but they can play a different style of game and show their skill set as well. And their back line, some of the talent in that back line is world class. If not number one, then number two in majority of positions, right? And they're doing this without their best 10, arguably. So it's crazy. This was an older team that they rolled out as well. So It's like they can go with different hybrid lineups. Do you give some experience a go? Do you give some younger guys a crack? Like, they are very well positioned. There's no doubt about that. I'm excited about the opportunity it presents for us to try and knock them off more than anything, because we will go there underdogs and we're going to have a lot of questions asked for us. But as an All Blacks fan, that excites me because we get a true measuring stick of where we're at against who is clearly the best team in the world.
Did you see that young prop come on? Well, he's not even that young, Zachary Porton. Just looking here, it says he's 6'2", 125 kegs, 22 years old. He played. This was his fourth test. He played against some of the smaller, well, not say smaller, Italy and Wales last year, but man, like that. You talk about the production line. You
seen that flanker in the under-20s? He caught the kickoff and ran the length of the field. He looked like he's about 140 kicks. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. So they've got, they've had this big squad they've run for a while. That every so often they'll pop a young fella up into it, and you go, "Oh, he's not bad. He's not bad." But then they've always got this insurance, and that's what South African rugby has done. And if you watch some of some of their URC games, there's some talent that we just don't see now because they're not part of Super Rugby. So that's what their production line's doing, and you have to congratulate them for it.
Let's move on to the game in Australia where the Wallabies took on the Irish, and I guess this was a good illustration of if you've got an accurate goal kicker, it'll help you win a whole heap of games. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that went on during the game, but Australia had the opportunity towards the end there to sneak out with a win, Surly. Overall, were the Wallabies unlucky?
I think there's positives there for the Wallabies, for sure. I think their team on paper looks really good and it looks balanced. For the first time in a while, I actually trusted all 23 that they were able to roll out. So I think they're in a pretty good position. They'll be disappointed to have lost this game, for sure, on home soil against an Irish side that doesn't quite have the reps of teams of the past. I thought Ireland were pretty good too. Pretty rough to give Ben Donaldson that knock there. That is as hard of a kick as it gets, for sure. Would a South African first five have kicked it? Probably. Would I have kicked it? Look, I'd back myself. Why bloody not? But that was not an easy nudge, and they had opportunities, a lot of opportunities throughout the game to win that, rather than it come down to that final kick.
Can I ask you then?
Yeah.
It's a kick to win the game. So it's one action versus if you kick for the, you kick for a line out, you've then the kick's got to be good, the line out execution's got to be good, every contact and every carry's got to be great to get yourself in a position to maybe get another penalty. I'm sitting there going, in his mind, I saw in his eyes, he thought he could make it.
Oh, right decision, right decision, 100%.
So I had people saying to me, should he have tried? I'm going 100% because it's one moment. It's like he strikes a kick and you win the test match. You should take those. If you think, you can make that, and he's probably, I don't know what, he's probably thinking to himself, I'm thinking in there, he's probably 50-50 maybe to make it. I'll take those odds to win a test.
Oh, was it Geordie Barrett World Cup? Similar, right? You got as a kicker, you want to put yourself in those positions, and I love that he backed himself. Yeah.
He had the distance. So the fact he had the distance means he could make the kick. Yeah. So for me, 100% the right decision. 100%.
I think statistically, it was the right decision. Like you say, it's a 50-50. Maybe it was a 45-55 just because of the angle and where he was and the. But if they decide to kick for touch, the line out, you're talking about a less than a 20% sort of.
Yeah, you're putting it in the hands of 10, 15 phases plus, right? Yeah. Whereas you could just nail it off the boot and win the game. So if he gets it, everyone's not even questioning the decision. It was the right call for sure. Just a tough nudge, not a sitter by any means. So
Australia needed this win.
Yeah.
They needed this win. This is unfortunately becoming a little bit of a pattern for them and story for their international team is that, winnable games are continually slipping through their fingers when they do enough to win games. I'm not sure both of these teams were particularly good in some ways. I thought there was some really nice tries and there was some great action, but I'm not sure about, if I compare the two test matches, I'm not sure the quality was the same between the All Blacks and if you talk about skill sets and abilities, I just thought, the All Black French game was a little bit better, a little bit of a step up. But overall, Australia should be optimistic. Ireland should be happy. But I think Australia, they've got to start asking some questions about winnable test matches, particularly at home. They're misfiring. And they've got to try and find a solution for that quickly. There was some nice. Maybe have they found their first five? You know, like I think maybe Carter Gordon was pretty good.
Yeah, I think you've got to back him in now and go with him till the World Cup, right? Because there's been too much chopping and changing, and I thought when he laced up in Super Rugby, he was their best 10 then as well. So
if they've answered that question, I think that's a big one for them going forward. He just needs to stay healthy.
Oh, Sealy dropping the North Harbour first 5'8".
Old Tane. Yeah, look, he's been in and around. He hasn't been getting many minutes. He's been coming off the bench in Super too, but maybe he suits New Zealand style of football, mate. You know, bring him home.
Right. Where do we go next? Let's look forward to this weekend, I guess. And before we look at the All Blacks Test match against Italy, I've got a question for both of you again. What changes would you make from the first test to the second test in terms of personnel? So, look, we can go through the whole team, but what with it being in Wellington, are you thinking there might be a few more 2026 Super Rugby champions included in the squad, Jeff?
Yeah, it was interesting because I heard an interview. I think it was it Mike Blair mentioning they might. You know, there's been some Hurricanes that have had big workloads. You know, they played a lot of rugby, clearly.
Mm-hmm. I'm
a bit the other way. I just want them to play the Hurricanes. Like, I literally, you know, there's some guys that haven't had opportunities yet. We haven't seen Morby. Fehi only just got a taste of it. I thought Proctor was really good. I want to see Geordie back out there again and just keep that Ruben Love at 10, and I want Roygaard to play. And, you know, I know there's a lot of when you're going to get these guys an opportunity. Well, if you know, I'd put the Hurricanes backline out there and keep McKenzie at fullback. Now, that's just me. I'd give Will Jordan maybe he goes onto the bench, gives us a little bit of insecurity there. I'd like Larkai to continue to play, and I'd love to see Tossi, Amua, and Numia get a start, and Lomax come off the bench or something like that. To me, I just look at it and go, you know, I'd love to see that Hurricanes group, which includes some newbies. I think Segner could get a run. You know, maybe play Larkai at 6 and Artie at 8 and Segner at 7, maybe. Something like that. I don't think Jacobson needs to play this week. Proved a point last week. He's had a big campaign. He's probably one you could give a bit of a rest. But, you know, I would be surprised if they try and give the majority of the squad, as many as they possibly can, an opportunity to play.
Shirley, are you thinking similar to Jeff here?
Yeah, I think Neil Barnes said the same, right? He said there's guys that are going to get opportunities this week. So I wouldn't be surprised if a Morby starts, if a Segner starts. I think Artie could have the week off too. He looked battered and bruised at the end of that game. I believe he copped a bit of a knock in the warm-up, but pushed on through, which is an interesting one too. But maybe we could see Lakai at 8 in his more familiar position, and then you go a Parker and a Segner or something like that in the loose forwards. Tupo Va'i might be available for selection. Patrick Tuipolotu. I think we'll see guys get some minutes in this game, but I'm not opposed to the all-out Canes mindset. Why not? It's their stadium. They were the best team all year. I'm all about starting to build combinations too, but it's tough to do that, right? When you want to give guys opportunities, but you want to start building combinations. I want to go into that first test in South Africa knowing who our best 23 is. And that might be a bit wishful. It might be the second test where we know that, but I would love to roll out what we think is the best one against Ireland, see how we go, make some tweaks from there, and then hit that South Africa test ready to go right from the start.
So that means that this test against Italy, there needs to be a whole heap of players get an opportunity to play if you want to then go, I think this is our best 15 against Ireland. Let's see how they stack up against the Irish before we head over to South Africa to take on the Springboks.
There's a bit of time. There is a bit of time, like between these 3 test matches, and then they go to South Africa and they've got those three other games. I think that those 3 other games are the ones that I'm going to try and have a chat to the coaches over the next few weeks about how they approach those, because they're in essentially it's Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, I think, and then they don't play to the first test is a week later. So you've got sort of 3 games, and which game do you play your top side? To really, is it the middle of the midweek one? So
yeah, against the Sharks, right? That midweek, that
The
Wednesday.
Sharks, we'll play the Sharks on the Wednesday. I think it's the Wednesday.
Yeah,
and then
is.
we've got 10 days of preparation for the top game for the first Test match. So if you started going Ireland, then the Sharks, and then the Springboks, and of the top side getting those combinations, the big combination, and this comes back to your point earlier on, the skill sets I see in McKenzie and Love, their ability to run and be such a running threat, and the ability to actually even go laterally and stress the defence, and then their running at speed and their footwork, them combined is a unique skill set. And, that's I think can be our point of difference. That's why I'm concerned if we make changes around those 2 positions.
Yeah, I also love the 4 points of kicking that it gives us too. And Jordan has a good boot, but if we're not going to box kick, having D-Mac, Ruben Love, Geordie Barrett, and Roygaard all as options, I think it helps you manipulate backfields too, right?
Yeah. I just think that the timing of McKenzie's running onto the ball he's made a big shift in that. You go, how can a young player with his experience get better in a certain area? You watch him now. His timing onto the ball and his willingness to, he takes nothing static. He'll drop behind the support players on the outside of him by 5 meters, and then he's running onto the ball, and they're not leaving until he's in front of them. And so he's such a different threat that we need your first receiver that run, catch, pass mentality versus was catch, run, pass. We've got into the static, having players on the move. That's where if Bowden's going to play, that's what he's got to do. He's got to come out and do the same thing. He can't just get into the stand at first and distribute. He has to be a threat. And I think that's the important part for me, is that if he's going to play at fullback, and if he's going to start at fullback, and I think that'll be their preferred option. And when he does start, if he does play, he's got to play like that. I'm not saying he can't, but we haven't seen him play with that sort of running confidence for a while. He just has to, sometimes maybe you have to copy what other players are doing, because that's your best chance of getting in the team.
Right. Can we get a wee bit of consensus here with all 3 of us? We're going to select the pick and go starting 15 for the test against the Italians this Saturday. At fullback, are we keeping D-Mac?
I am.
Okay, so D-Mac in the 15. The wingers, are we making some changes there? Does Fehi start? Does Morby come in as well?
I'm going Hurricanes.
2 Hurricanes?
The whole rest of the back line from here.
Yeah, the whole rest of the back line. I'm going the best back line as well.
So we're going Proctor at centre, Barrett at second 5, Love first 5, Roygaard halfback.
And then I've got Bodie, Anton Leonard-Brown, those guys getting some minutes off the bench rather than starting. Yeah. And 40 minutes. Let's be honest, this Italy, I was more worried about it a couple of weeks ago. I thought they're not going to be a rollover. Their performance against Japan was not great. And that leads me to believe that this game should be a lot more comfortable than I thought it was going to be at the end of the Six Nations when they'd fired a few shots there.
The loose forward trio for the first test, it had a wee bit of an interchangeable look to it. You could have changed them around slightly. Are we going to change them around here? Does you want to give Artie a rest, Surly?
Yeah, I'm going Lakai, Signa, and then probably a Simon Parker, maybe Wallace if he's ready to start. I think getting some more minutes in him post head knock is a good call too.
Jeff?
Yeah, really interesting. I can't see Artie taking a week off. I'm not saying that we're not wrong, that it might be in his best interest, but I think the All Black captain will want to keep playing.
True, week 2 of captaincy, right?
Yeah, week 2. Yeah, week 2 going. And then, see, I'm probably giving Cody Taylor a week off. I've got Takaho and Almua as my 2 hookers.
We're in the loose forwards, and Jeff's moved to the front row already.
Because you've got to explain leadership.
Right, yeah.
Paulie, this is how you select the team. You've got to have a captain on the field.
Come on, Paulie. Quiet in the cheap seats, mate.
Just okay. Or you could go with a Tupou Vai if he's fit to maybe captain the side. But I think Artie stays out there for me. It's whether Petalakai could do with a week off, and you go with Signer at open side. Parker, I think, is not a bad shout. Or Satiti starting at 6. But I think they might give Parker a bit of a run here and I think Lakai could be the one for me if you're going to give someone a week off and go, you know what, you're really important to us. Wallace, you come off the bench, but maybe Parker's not a bad shout. So I've gone Signer, Artie, and Signer, Artie, and Parker.
So Artie at number 8, Signer open side, and Parker on the blind.
Yeah.
Okay.
You do whatever you want, because you do anyway. So
I actually like the sound of that, Jeff.
I appreciate it.
Wow. We'll go with that.
Talked him into it, Surly, didn't I?
Yeah, you certainly did.
Yeah, sorry about that. My bad.
Surly, locks?
I think Derry deserves another crack. I thought he was one of our best. I think the biggest question is if Tupou is ready to go. Otherwise, I wouldn't be surprised if they left the locks as is and Tui Pelotu came in for Hannah. But not that Hannah did anything wrong. I thought he was good, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same locking duo again because they're young and they can get some minutes still in them as well. Like Lord's had a big campaign, but I think he's gone to another level this year. He wasn't quite at his Super Rugby level on the weekend, but I still thought he was decent. So it's whether Tupou Vai's available. If he is, I think he comes in and he starts. But I'm quite happy with our 2 current locks from last week.
So Jeff, Lord and Derry?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. If Vai's fit, I'd actually put Derry on the bench because I think Derry's going to have a big role next week. So the other one is, do you give Derry a week off and put Paddy back if Paddy's ready to go? Give him some time off the bench as well. But I'm comfortable if Tupou Vai's not fit and available. I think the 2 who started last week can start, and Paddy will come off the bench.
Right, so we'll go with the 2 that started last week.
Yep.
If Tupou Vai is still not 100%, but if he is, he jumps in.
Yep.
Let's get to your front row now, Jeff.
Hurricanes, and more hurricanes. I mean, it's in saying that, Samasoni had such a great year. He was so damaging. I in some ways, I'm almost keep Asafa Amor on the bench. I'm giving Cody Taylor the week off, and I'm thinking to myself, you could give the 2 props who started the week off, Newell and De Groot. They were both really good. I think it looks as though Ethan De Groot's trimmed up a little bit. Like, he's still a big man, but I don't think he's carrying just quite as much as he has in previous seasons. I think he's worked out how quickly he has to get around the park in this game plan, and he's adapted a little bit. So I was quite impressed. He made a couple of great calls, and I love it when he gets close to the referee and has something to say. He's my most entertaining player, So I think I'm looking at Amua to start with Takiaho, and I'm tossing up between Tossi and Lomax. Either way, I'm not too phased. Surely you can.
I'll go
tight head props.
I'll go Tossi.
Okay, yeah,
So,
he's good, man.
Yeah,
the
very
Hurricanes
good.
front row.
Yeah,
Takiaho off the bench.
I think Takiaho off the bench. Yeah,
And then he starts next week.
No. I think he might be on the bench next week with Taylor starting.
I think if you get 30 in him, then that ticks a box, right? Like, he was in the final, so it's not like he's been on ice for ages. I think 30 minutes is enough, and he's quality.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where the Taylor had a good game. I thought there was, there's a lot of bling with the other guys. I get that, can't have bling everywhere. And that's what I think. What I think we found out with the 3 having that experience of Newell, Taylor, and De Groot was pretty solid, really solid. Knowing what's in front of us. Remember, we've got 4 tests in a row against South Africa. We're going to need some players, man.
Yeah,
we're going to have some depth.
Even like some of the subtle things he did, some of the down lines he ran when he was like used as a blocker in shape, like that's not stuff you really associate Cody Taylor with even. So it looks like he's possibly been a little bit reinvigorated around this attack shape as well, which is cool to see.
Well, he exploded. I mean, that try that Roygaard scores, he gets that because he explodes off the back of that ball, and brings in 2 defenders. Geordie makes 1 good clean out, and we're under the bar, So Cody did some good things.
Your call that you can't have bling everywhere, Jeff. You obviously haven't seen Surly out on a Saturday night. You certainly can have bling everywhere.
You reckon, Paulie?
Big time. Right, let's look at the odds for this game. And, well, 30.5-point favourites, the All Blacks. In fact, it's moved since I've been in the studio. They're now 31.5-point favourites, the All Blacks here. They're $1.02 to beat the Italians. The Italians, $13, and the game total is set at 63.5. I can tell it was raining overnight here. There was a bit of rain this morning. It looks like there's still a bit of rain, but I think the forecast is for it to clear by the time we get to kickoff at, 5 o'clock kickoff on Saturday down here at Henry Stadium. Just look at 31.5. That's a big line there, Jeff.
Oh, yeah, jump on it now, quick. If you want to get on that, if you want to take the $1.90, right? Go on, take it now. I think it'll be a dominant performance. I thought I did some research into the Italy team, expecting to see it didn't have a lot of Six Nations guys in it, but it did. So that was a poor performance. And look, I think they'll relish the opportunity to play the All Blacks in New Zealand. But like I say, I think if we get the right combination of people and they get on a run and get some confidence and the conditions are good, I think we'll cover that.
Surely, that's a big line, 31.5.
All Blacks 31-40 at $4.50. Don't mind that. I think
he's gone specific.
I think it's like Jeff. I think that line's going to go up a touch and it'll get closer to 34 mark. So I think we'll be too good. I think they will be low on confidence, the Italians, after a disappointing result last week. And I think the All Blacks will make the adjustments this week that they need to off that game, with a few guys looking to really compete and push for positions, because there's guys that are going to get an opportunity that deserve to be starting players based off their form in Super and domestic. So there's going to be a few statements looking to be made for sure. I'm not expecting a drop-off in any way.
The Italians, they've never beaten the All Blacks. 18 times they've tried. They've got close once or twice. But I'm just thinking, surely after that poor performance last weekend, no, I'm not saying I'm not, and we all know
it's in Wellington. Here it comes.
It has not been the kindest place to the All Blacks. I just think surely they step it up a gear against the All Blacks, and they keep it competitive, at least for the first half, Jeff.
Are you trying to suck in someone in?
Yeah, are they going to be able to be competitive? That's the main thing.
It's could they be? I just don't. Like I said, I see, and it's one game, and I get it. And you don't want to jump to too many conclusions when you talk about, what we saw from the All Blacks, right? But it's more, I've got you talked about the feeling you had compared last year to this year, right? You talk about the language, you talk about the confidence, the intent to play. You get the sense that if we get going, and we've actually shown against Italy, some of the results against Italy in even recent years have been massive. Right now, the ones we've struggled have been Northern Hemisphere tours, end of the season, last game of the year. Guys have got a foot on the plane. We made a couple of years ago, they made a mistake of playing our top guys who had a massive season. It's different for us. We're starting off. They're at the end of their campaigns and years. I just find it hard to believe in these circumstances, coming down and playing us in New Zealand, that if we get going and the way we're capable of playing, it'll blow out quick. World Cups, we've put 100 on them. We've absolutely demolished them. And that's when you expect them to be at their best as a Rugby World Cup. So I'm just I think the circumstances we've got here right now, and how excited I think this team about how they want to play, means that we can just, that's 31.5 at the moment, 4 or 5 tries difference. It's about whether or not our defence steps up, and I think it will. And we'll actually get some points from the other side of the ball as well. So you can't talk me into Ireland keeping this close.
The Italians, yeah. They haven't been to New Zealand since 2009. When they played at Jade Stadium. And that was 27-6. That's a long, what's that? That's 17 years ago. You bring up their I guess, how they've gone against the All Blacks. The last World Cup, the All Blacks put 96 points on the Italians. So, yeah, you're sort of turning me.
It won't be
towards that.
96, but it'll
No,
be.
no.
No, I don't think it'll be 96 either. But I think you have to have context in all of this. They haven't beaten us before. I've just got a sense of what we're capable of. And I'm backing that.
Right, let's have a look. Australia get a chance at redemption. They face the French this weekend. The Wallabies, they're $3 outsiders against the French, who are $1.37, 7.5-point underdogs at home. The Australians, and the game total set at 59.5. Jeff, you said that Australia seemed to find a way to lose games that they were in almost for the entirety of the match. Can you see them causing an upset here?
What's the point, Star?
7.5.
That piques my interest, because I think the style of game, I'll be interested to see what France continue to try and do. Because the style of game that France play, if they play like they did in Christchurch, would suit Australia, because it's speed, skill, don't get into an arm wrestle. That's what Australia has to avoid against anybody, They can play some footy. So that piques my interest, the point start. I know better than to trust France. I don't know how many of the players they're going to introduce, certainly. That's the key part. The guys that have come on tour, how much better does that make them be? So I think France will win this test match. I do. But I'm not sure it'll be a thrashing. I don't think that at all. I think the you say 7.5?
Yep.
It could be inside that.
Surly, do you give the Australians any chance after heartbreak last weekend?
Yeah, I do, more so around the unpredictability of the French, like Jeff mentioned there. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a similar scoreline to what we saw on the weekend, where it's a high-scoring game and there's 3 to 5 points difference between the two teams, and it comes down to just a few moments. And at times it might not feel as close as the scoreboard suggests, but then a team will strike it and make it look a little bit closer. I think France should win, but yeah, I don't know if I 100% trust that they will do that.
I love it. I love the either team by under 7.5. Is it 260? I think that's not a bad bet for me. I think, like you say, it could just flip either way. And when it's under 7.5, which is like more than a try. So for me, I don't mind that.
Japan up against the Irish. Japan $6.50. The Irish $1.10. 20.5-point favourites, Ireland here. Game total set at 60.5. Surely, you get first go on this game. Japanese, can they keep it close?
Give me that line. I wish this game was in Japan. I feel like the odds wouldn't be as crazy as that. But yeah, I'll take that line. 20.5. I think they'll keep it closer than that.
Jeff?
No, I'm going the other way.
Wow.
Yep.
I thought Japan looked pretty good.
Yep. If it was in Japan, but I find it I think Ireland might give them a whipping. There you go. I think they'll dominate that game. I've got Ireland. I go overs on that. I mean, look, yeah. I'm going to go. I'll go 13 plus Ireland to win. Like that would be my my bet in this one. I know it's only $1.40, but I think I think they'll win by more than that.
Fiji up against the English. The Fijians, $7.50. The English $1.07. They're 21.5-point favourites, the Poms here. Game total set at 61.5. Surly, do you give the Fijians any chance here?
I'd love to see it. I feel like they've had some really close games with England over the last couple of years too, haven't they? So I would love to see them get the result. I think the English will be feeling a bit of pressure. So, look, Fiji have nothing to lose, but no, England will win this game. But I would love to see Fiji make it a really tight spectacle and just prey on this. Like, England fans seem like they're turning on their team a bit. So, it could be blood in the water. I'm not sure if they're good enough to pull it off, but I think England win in a closer game.
The focus could be taken off this game, Jeff, with another competition going on at the moment, and the English team faring okay at the moment. But
It's
in
coming
terms of
home.
this, oh gee, how do they go?
Did you say it's coming home?
I
Yeah,
did.
that's exactly what Searley said.
What's going where? You're saying the World Cup's going to England?
Unfortunately, I'm half English. It's the only time I support an English team is in football. Bless my mother.
How can you possibly say that's its home?
Exactly.
What?
They haven't had it since '66, but they did play a hand in creating the sport.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's
yeah.
like rugby; they're good at kicking it, right? So, look, I would love to see this England 1-12. I've just got to, the fact that they're now, where else are they going to? Liverpool.
Yeah.
For this contest, I think that takes a toll. So I think this is the sort of game where Fiji just could be niggly. So, I mean, it's a rougher bet. I think it's a 450 to sit here, England 1-12. I think England might win, but maybe they won't get it all their own way. I just got a message through, actually. The Fiji rugby couldn't be happier. They're making money that they've never had before.
Okay, so, take it back.
No, I'm not. No, but I'm not saying. But what I'm saying is, there's a purpose they've done it.
Yep.
And they're thrilled.
Do you think it also, like a lot of their players are based in Europe, right?
Yeah,
so does it help with availability as well?
It might too. It makes it easy for them to assemble and come together, and but on a one-off year, if it then all of a sudden really secures their balance sheet, and we do know that the infrastructure in Fijian rugby needs to be strong, particularly when you've got a team in Super Rugby. If it helps that sort of build that, then maybe sometimes a one-off decision where you maybe lose 3 test matches at home results in a huge windfall. So for me, maybe if that's passed on, in terms of resource to the team, and they hear that this is what's happening, great. So yeah, we might see a lift from them. So, but England in a tight one.
South Africa, Scotland. South Africa $1.06, Scotland $8.50, 21.5 point favourites. The Springboks 60.5 is the game total. Scotland has never beaten South Africa in South Africa. In fact, they've only beaten them 5 times. The last time they beat them was 16 years ago in 2010. And after what we saw from the Springboks against the English, Surly, this is it. You're going to take the minus 21.5?
I'm shocked Scotland at 850. Scotland are a good side, man. I'm a little bit surprised. I think South Africa will win, and they'll win fairly comfortably in that 11 to 20 range, perhaps a little bit more. But $8.50, I think that's quite disrespectful to Scotland.
Oh, it's the number 1 team in the world.
No, 100% in South Africa, but this Scottish team is good.
Yeah, they're good. We didn't talk about them beating Argentina. But Argentina were Argentina, and there was very little defence in the second half. That was a bizarre test match, man. Look, I was watching it going, how did they get to the number of points they ended up on? Because it was sort of a tussle at half time, and then all of a sudden there's just the floodgates opened everywhere. I'll tell you what I'm interested in this one, is the total points. I think there'll be points everywhere. I really do. Springboks have named their team. Looks like another strong side. Made a few changes into it though. I think, but I'm expecting a high scoring affair here. So get onto that. But yeah, I'm not sure the margin will be 21.5. I really don't think it'll be that. I could see a bit similar to maybe more like a 40-30, something like that. Because I think everyone's playing footy at the moment. I think that's the other side of it too. When you're playing one-off games and you're not in series, you're not worried about sort of grinding one out. You're sort of going, well, let's just go out and play. And like I say, bonus points are important. So that's the total points for me. I think South Africa win, but I don't think they cover that line.
11 to 20 at 380. That would be my bet there.
That's early. And Jeff going with the over, I think it was 60.5.
60.5. I get the overs on there.
Nice. Final game, Argentina up against the Welsh. Argentina $1.13. Wales $5.50, 17.5-point favourites. The Argentinians, who were beaten last week by Scotland. The game total is, once again, 60.5. Shirley, where are we going?
Argentina should win this, but who knows what you're going to get with Argentina. They should win this game, though, especially at home. They're a better side than the Welsh. So, again, in that 11 to 20 mark, I think, around that. Wales are improving. They're showing signs of improvement, but Argentina should be too strong at home.
Yeah, Jeff, they'll be disappointed.
Yeah, they will be. I'm just sort of looking at it going, Wales are on a 1-win game win streak, so...
Yeah, but what was their losing streak?
No, because they beat Japan.
Oh, true.
They had that. You know, I mentioned that when they won that game as well. That was great. To be honest with you, every time I think Wales wins a game now, it's awesome because I'm devastated by the state of their game had got to. But there's no way they win this game. You know, Argentina will be better for their first hit out. So, yeah, I expect them to win it. And once again, though, 17.5 is a decent whack. You know, there's a bit of generosity going on here. So I'm not sure they win by that much, Argentina. I think Wales will take a lot out of a good win. You know, so I'm giving them a little bit of hope, and I think they'll stay within 17.5 points. So that'll be for me.
Righty, let's have a look at the All Blacks game in depth now, and I want to get a winning team and margin, a line bet, first try scorer bet, anytime try scorer bet, and a same game multi. Let's start with Jeff. We'll start with winning team and margin. Is this an easy one for you here, Jeff? Is it if we're taking the All Blacks 13 and over?
Yeah, that's an easy one.
Yeah,
agree.
Yeah,
same.
Yeah, $1.15's a bargain.
Right. The line, 31.5. I think Jeff has already indicated where he's going here. He'll take the All Blacks minus 31.5. Shirley, Are you joining him there?
Yeah, I am.
First try scorer. Now, teams haven't been named as we record this, so there's a wee bit of sort of fog, a little bit of mist to get through. But we saw the Frenchman, the French winger. Is it Pinot? Dot down at $15 to be the first try scorer last week against the All Blacks. Not too many punters were on him. But this week, it's going to be an All Black. But which All Black, Jeff?
Fehi Whinianga Nofo.
Damn.
I'm glad you asked me first. I think he's going to be the first try scorer. He'll get a start, and we'll play with a bit of width, and he'll put his left foot step on, then fend with his right and score in the corner.
Sounds like you were quite keen on Fehi yourself there, Shirley. Feel free to double down. No,
I'll go Morby. Why not? I'll go the other side. I think he'll get the start, and I'll back him in. If he doesn't start, I'll go with a Suffle. It's an all-out Hurricanes onslaught this weekend.
The two record holders for Super Rugby tries in a season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not the worst. I'm going to go with D-Mac. I can see him slotting into the back line and cutting through some dodgy Italian defense. So, yeah, it looks like we're all heading out wide for the first try scorer. Anytime try scorer, can you find someone in the forward pack, Surly?
I mentioned a Suffle, so maybe he's my guy to go to. If Signa plays, I'll back him in. He can find his way to the try line.
Yeah. Jeff?
I'm going to go. If Tossie starts, he's going to score. A big fella is going to score.
Xavier Numere loves a try too.
Oh, he does too. No, I'm going to go Tossie. Basilio Tossie.
Yeah,
you're not giving any of your tips here in this. You're just saying nice and then moving on.
No, I agreed with you. I went All Blacks.
Oh, you always just agree, don't you?
13 and 0. I actually went D-Mac for first try scorer.
Okay, that was your tip. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm going with
first one. You just moved on.
Mr. Twinkle Toes himself, Xavier Numere, to score a try. I 100% agree. He'll step one of those.
We've gone the whole front row.
We've gone the front row, so yeah, look out. This is going to be a bonanza. A same game multi. Where are you going with this one, Jeff?
It's a very good question. I I'm gonna. What did I say? First try scorers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just multi all of mine up. Why wouldn't I do that? Why don't I just do the 115? I'll do the over 31.5, and then I'll hit the first time try scorer.
Boom. Easy peasy.
The confidence.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd have to think about something else, and that just made it easy.
Nah, fair. I'm going to go boring. I'm going to go both wingers to score and All Blacks 13 plus. That'll get you like $3, $3.50. We'll see.
I'll go a wee bit more exciting. I'm going to go All Blacks to win by 51 or more, and I'll chuck a couple of try scorers in there as well. I'll definitely go with, if the Hurricane wingers start, I'll go with both of them to score a try, and I'll chuck in Cam Roigard as well if he starts. So, boom. Easy peasy. We've got to the end of the show once again.
Just quickly, speaking of try-scoring hookers, did you see Rene Rangers coming off the bench at hooker for Wellsford at the moment?
Could we see him at NPC level then?
Well, I don't know if you saw him in the warm-up, but he was smoking a rolly dart. So perhaps he's given up on the dream. Apparently, speaking to one of his teammates, he had a few Cody's prior to kickoff too. So yeah, he's enjoying grassroots footy to the max. But imagine being at the bottom of a ruck in the 70th minute after spending the whole week just like tradie life, and you've just got Rene Ranger on top of you, just rubbing your face in the dirt. I could not think of anything worse.
For those of you who don't know what a Cody is, it's an RTD, usually consumed after a game.
Yes.
So, yeah. Jeff, what are you up to this weekend?
I might go to Wellington.
Oh, you're always welcome down here. Always.
And I'll be sidelined again. I'm not commentating, actually. It's a big week for one Ben Castle. He's sideline commentator for his first All Blacks test, which is awesome. Yeah, really, really cool. So excited for Nisbo, Mills, and BC. So I'm just on the panel, so I get to enjoy doing some work watching the game, but really, really looking forward to it once again, seeing where the All Blacks can get to. Like you say, there should be a renewed enthusiasm about the game. I think there's a few tickets still left. I'm not 100% sure on that.
600.
600.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good result. Like, I think people are starting to really buy into what the All Black team are doing. So looking forward to that. But yeah, for Benny Castle, I'm excited for him. You know, he's worked bloody hard to get the opportunity, and he'll do it well.
Yep, congratulations to Ben Castle. And I'm sure that Goldie will probably be having a couple of Cody's, seeing as he doesn't have to work during the test. We'll be interesting to see what he's like.
I've got to work after the test as well, though.
Yeah, we'll do a Rene Ranger. Have a couple before.
Whoa. You won't get a job.
Of all the ridiculous things you've ever said on that podcast, can you imagine me doing that?
A Rene Ranger, a dart, Cody's.
Playing hooker. Actually doing all of the things you mentioned he was doing, to be fair.
Oh, gee. Goldie doing a Rene Ranger on Saturday. You can bank it. I'll give you that.
$1.10.
Surly.
As usual, the last few minutes of this podcast are the worst.
Yeah.
They are
no one hangs on this long anyway, Jeff. No one will see it. Surly, you heading down this way as well, or you staying up your part of the world?
I wish. Matariki, but I'm heading north. So using the long weekend to go north, hopefully some golf. We'll be at the All Blacks Island next week. So I'll stick to my local Eden Park game. But just heading north with some family. Grassroots footy's over for me now. So I will not be watching the final. I hope Messi beat Takapuna.
Righty-ho. That's it for another week here on the Pick and Go. I'll be down on the waterfront before the test, hoping to chat to a few All Black supporters and a few Italian supporters as well. And so, come on.
Not after this podcast, you won't.
Cody's in a dart.
I will have a couple of Cody's before I have a chat. So it's going to be great fun. That's it for the Pick and Go. We'll be back again next week with another episode, maybe with Jeff, maybe with Surly, maybe with someone else. Thanks for tuning in.